Hey everybody, it's your boy Carlos here,
And Joseph.
and this is The
The passenger
Passenger
seat.
Seat. All right.
Right. Welcome back,
Welcome.
writers.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
No,
Did you
no, no,
want
you go ahead.
to? Welcome back, writers, to another week in the passenger seat. Another week in our spooktastic line of videos in October. And this week, we're going to be talking about a movie that is old ish.
You made me feel old when you say it.
Old ish. It is 2001, and it is a cult classic, even though it's a terribly, how would you put it? Critically, if it's critically acclaimed is one thing. What's the opposite end?
It bombed.
Bombed. Yeah, it's a total bomb.
I actually didn't bomb in the box office, but yeah, critically it wasn't that great. Actually, uh, this year marks its 20th anniversary, so we thought we'd talk about it. We're gonna talk about the 13 Ghost.
13 ghosts.
For those of you who remember, for those of you who don't, we're here to give you a quick recap, I guess, or synopsis.
Yeah. So, a couple of facts about 13 Ghosts. Well, first of all, 13 Ghosts, the one from 2001, is actually a remake um, of, a movie that was made in the 60s. The
Of the same
original,
title.
yeah, of the same title. The original director was William Castle, and this new one was made by, what's his name? Steve Beck or something like It's something Beck.
Yeah,
And,
he didn't stick around much.
right? But yeah, so 13 Ghosts, the story is more or less the same. It's basically this family that inherits a house from basically this guy whose wife dies, inherits a house from his super
Uncle.
rich uncle who like had this weird job of being a collector or an explorer. Um, and ultimately, when they get to the house, they realize that their uncle actually collected ghosts. He was a what's the word for it?
Okay, he was like a ghost catcher, like a hunter, because he
Yeah.
liked to hunt things.
mm,
But because you see it, you guys see it at the beginning of the movie. It's literally the beginning scene is him hunting a ghost with his group, with his team.
Mm-hmm. And essentially, the whole plot of the story is that he was trying to capture these ghosts to open, quote unquote, the eye of hell, so that he could basically have access to the past, the present, the future. He would be sort of like omniscient, right?
Hmm.
And that would grant him like this power. He'd be powerful because anybody who knows the future um, is pretty much, I wouldn't say all powerful, but that's still.
You get a good advantage.
Oh yeah. So yeah, basically, they're trapped in this. They end up getting trapped in this house with these ghosts, and they slowly start to realize what's actually going on. Um, and yeah, they have to find a way to get out of the house and sort of solve this whole dilemma that's going on.
Yes. And well, along the way, the family they meet different characters and also meet the 13 Ghosts. And I think the most interesting part for me in the movie, at least the 13 Ghosts themselves,
Hmm.
because it was that early times, even though it was the 2001. They didn't shy away from using prosthetics and different types of makeup and stuff like that. So I like that. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider that most of these actors they had to go hours just to get these prosthetics on and do these scenes. You could only imagine how crazy that must be, right? You sit in a makeup room for 6 hours to then go and record, and then you have to spend hours taking that stuff off. It
Yeah.
it must be grueling. And yeah, you know what? the acting is terrible in this movie, and the plot is just sort of meh. But
It is. It is. I mean, I guess I could give credit maybe two of the actors, and that's probably it.
yeah, regardless, it is a cult classic. It's a movie that's just enjoyable to sit down and watch, and you'll people like people like it. That's why these things become cult classics. There's a lot of movies like that, which are just critically they're bad, but they can be loved by a widespread audience.
Well, what was the book called? The Arcarium?
The
Arcanum? Some
something
magical
like that.
book that
Right.
tells you exactly like how the house was built and how what the exact spells are, and it was it's basically one of those ritual type things they always try to put in movies that don't make any sense, but
Right. Right. There were a couple of cool scenes. Obviously, for 2001, you could definitely tell that the scenes were super cool. You had the quote unquote the lawyer when he gets split in half with the door. That scene was insane. Super
that's actually
gruesome.
really funny.
Yeah.
That's actually yeah, I like that. The whole time I was like, man, poor what's her name, Maggie? Maggie's her
Oh
name.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, she don't even belong to that family.
I know. Um, what else? You had the Juggernaut, you know, kills off Matthew Lillard's character, and that was pretty sad. That was just there like, oh no, you
Yeah,
sacrificed
Matthew
yourself.
Lillard, man. Matthew
Yeah,
Lillard was everywhere in the early 2000s. That guy, obviously, and it was interesting to see that he was also in Scream, the 13 Ghosts, and Scooby Doo. A lot of this stuff surrounding like a bunch of like mystery or whatever. And I think he just really enjoys it.
yeah.
He usually enjoys his roles,
Matthew
but
Lillard seems like a cool guy. Seems like a guy you could go have a beer with.
he does seem like a really cool guy. And I think nowadays, just side note, he goes to different like hospitals and does the Shaggy voice for little kids and stuff like that. So he is a good guy.
Like zoinks. So you had a peculiar fact, right, that we were talking about before we started recording, and it's the fact that the person who plays the torso.
Oh, but I mean, going back to the what we said in the beginning about like how they did everything by prosthetic and they did everything without the use of CGI. One of the most like fascinating things for me, at least, was the fact to learn that there is a ghost that he's just a torso with arms, no head, no legs. Well, the actual actor of this guy, I saw photos where he has no legs in real life, and all they did was CGI his head off because he didn't have a head either. But he actually walked around with his arms, like because that's just how he.
Dude, can you imagine? Can you imagine that casting call?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I imagine he had a pretty good chance.
yeah, no, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, can you imagine the ad? We're looking for someone to play a torso, and the guy's just walking, and he's like, "It's my time to shine.
My time to shine.
Go get it." You know?
Yeah, that was one of the interesting facts. I think one of the most famous ghosts that people remember every time they see this movie, because I love the stuff on her head, or was it her or him? I don't remember.
The
Was it
jackal.
Jackal?
It's him.
Yeah, that guy probably the most memorable one, because if I ever see that, I would go screaming too.
Jeez.
Just
The
straight up
jackal's
psychotic.
the jackal's crazy. And speaking of the ghosts, so do you think the jackal is your favorite?
The Jackal for me actually would be the scariest. Either that or the Hammer. The Hammer was it was pretty freaky.
Yeah. That's another point. Before we get into our favorite ones, before closing out, is the fact that each one of these ghosts actually had like a backstory.
uh, yeah, not it was sort of a backstory, but their backstory is explained by their name.
Yeah, no, but like seriously, they do have a backstory. Like the
Mm.
Hammer was, he was a blacksmith. And I guess what had happened is that they killed his family. He ended up killing people, and they ended up putting train or railroad
Railroad.
spikes through him. Then you had the jackal, which was like a person who was like a psycho or serial killer or something, and he's trying
Yeah.
to get
Well,
help.
side note, um, in this movie at least, not in other renditions of ghosts, but in this movie, you only become an evil ghost if you died a horrible death or were basically a terrible person, and you can't move on because not all ghosts hurt people. They explain it in the movie, but yeah, that's their backstories are explained, but usually all of them are pretty sad or torturous.
Yeah, it's a super interesting concept, I think. And yeah, the fact that each one of them sort of represents something from the Black Zodiac is also a cool little tidbit.
Yeah,
Anyways, to close it off, not to make this video too long, who is your favorite ghost? I guess out of the 13.
I honestly, I know that I said the jackal and the hammer are the creepiest, but I think visually, I think it might have to be I think the Juggernaut was like because he was kind of interesting, and he was like the strongest one. So
Yeah,
I would see him. I think he was a serial killer. I think they said because he killed like 9 people while he was alive, and then he killed like 40 while he was dead.
yeah.
That was interesting.
His story is pretty messed up. He'd like pick up hitchhikers and then take them to his junkyard, where he'd like
Yeah,
cut them up into pieces and feed them to the dogs.
yeah, because he was a serial killer, but he was the last ghost to come out.
Hmm.
So for me, I mean, and I felt like that means he's the strongest. But and what about you?
Man, I really did like the jackal. I'd say probably the firstborn is his name, the little kid who dressed up
Oh, like
as an Indian with
yeah,
the arrow through his head. Like he didn't do anything. Like he didn't kill people. He just like urged you to go into the direction of like even worse ghosts. And he'd just be
yeah.
sitting there with his axe like I'm like, oh jeez.
Speaking of, speaking of ghosts, it's very early 2000s because I don't know why, but early 2000s horror movies was so concentrated on the sexual stuff and sex in
Mm,
general.
mm.
But to see that ghost just walk around like her bare chested, like no
Yep.
problem throughout the whole movie, and I'm just kind of there like, there was no need for that. They just wanted to do that.
Yeah, probably just following trends of like the early 2000s. Her story's really sad though.
I
Um,
mean, she seemed pretty sad. I mean, I could tell by the way. I mean, I'm not like an expert in this, but by the way she was looking at this girl who was alive and younger, and beautiful, and she just like jealous
yeah.
and stuff.
But yeah, anyways, that pretty much brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully y'all enjoyed everything that we talked about today. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know who is your favorite ghost or character in that movie. I mean, shout out to Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, I was gonna say Matthew Lillard is probably the best.
Yeah,
By the way, he was psychic in the movie. We forgot
yeah,
to say that.
we did. Very important tidbit. But y'all already probably seen this movie. If not, go watch it.
Yeah, I mean, people who haven't seen it, you're gonna have a hard time watching it.
Hard time or a
I'm
good
gonna,
time. It's one of the two.
yeah.
All right, well, riders, thank you so much for joining us in a ride today, and hopefully you'll join us in the next ride here in
The
the passenger
passenger
seat.
seat.
So basically the story. No, you disconnected. Let's wait till he gets back.
God no! God damn it!
Yeah, I had a reaction too to you leaving.
Ah, shit knockers.
Shit knockers.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I didn't expect that. Sorry, dang, that messed up a lot.
You're good.
Okay, that was weird.
And there he goes again. There he goes again.
Mala mia.
Disconnecting from Discord.
I am so sorry.
And I just can't relate.
what keeps happening is I try to adjust my headphone, and by adjusting it, I turn off the call.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, okay. Prosthetics. Okay, you remember where you left off.
He loses his wife in a fire, and she is one of the 12 ghosts. She's number 4. And
Spoiler.
spoiler. And then the main character himself is actually the 13th ghost. And so with the power of love, I guess you could say, that's basically what stops the Eye of Hell.
Scott Reed's The Power of Love.
So, yeah.
No,